Welcome back, lore hunters. Tonight, we step inside the world of one of gaming's greatest universes. Find a comfortable position, let the story unfold, and drift into another world. Begin by letting your head gently sink into your pillow, feeling the soft embrace beneath you. Allow your eyelids to grow heavy, a comforting weight settling over your gaze. Breathe deeply, slowly, as tension drains from your forehead, softening the muscles around your eyes. Feel your jaw release, a subtle slackness spreading, letting go of any clenching. Your shoulders begin to lower, easing away from your ears, as if shedding a cloak of worries. Allow your arms to rest, heavy and still, beside you, feeling the cool air or soft fabric against your skin. Imagine each muscle in your back, from your neck down to your lower spine, unclenching, unfurling, like a slow-motion flower opening. Your chest rises and falls with a steady, peaceful rhythm, a quiet hum within. Feel your abdomen soften, releasing any knots of thought. Your hips settle deeper into whatever supports you, a foundation of quiet rest. Let your legs grow heavy, rooted and calm, no longer needing to carry you. Finally, feel your feet relax, every toe uncurling, every arch softening. Your entire body eases, unclenching, a deep state of rest enveloping you completely. You are sinking, floating, drifting as we begin in the boundless, silent expanse of a Minecraft night, where shadows stretched long and the air held the hush of ancient earth. Something unusual occurred. Not with a bang, but with a barely perceptible shimmer. A new entity materialized. It was a creeper freshly spawned, yet unlike any that had come before. Instead of the typical, immediate surge of instinct, the primal urge to seek, to stalk, to explode, there was a flicker, a nascent spark of awareness. A soft, green form coalesced from the very fabric of the blocky world. Not quite solid, not quite spirit, but a delicate balance of both, shimmering into being under the cool caress of the moonlight. This new creature, whom we shall quietly call Fuse, did not immediately register the block beneath its feet as mere earth. Instead, it felt the subtle texture, the coolness of the moss, the firm resistance of the stone. Its blocky, unblinking eyes, usually pools of dark, empty menace, held a nascent, bewildered light. There was a quiet hum, not of a fuse igniting, but of a consciousness slowly unfurling, a soft, internal murmur against the overwhelming silence of the world. The first sensation, after the profound, deep calm of its own genesis, was the vastness. Above, an impossibly dark canopy, pricked with countless glowing points, the distant, steady pinpricks of stars. They didn't just exist, they pulsed with a soothing, distant light, each a tiny beacon in the immense void. Fuse tilted its head, a subtle, almost imperceptible shift of its green, blocky mass, trying to process this visual symphony. The world around it was a tapestry of greens and browns, deep blues and grays, all rendered with a beautiful, fundamental simplicity. Trees, immense and blocky, reached towards the sky, their leaves a muted whisper in the non-existent breeze. The very air felt dense, yet light, carrying the faint, earthy scent of damp soil and ancient moss. This was not the expected, immediate surge of hostile impulse, but a quiet, curious absorption. Its internal energy, usually coiled and volatile, felt strangely placid, observing rather than reacting. A soft, almost imperceptible tremor ran through Fuse's form as it became aware of itself. Its body, segmented and blocky, felt strangely heavy, yet capable. It extended one of its 4 stumpy legs, a slow, deliberate movement. The texture of the grass block beneath its foot was rough, solid, yet yielding just enough. There was no internal voice, no language, just a flow of pure sensation and a dawning, wordless understanding. This is me. This is here, the other creepers, its brethren usually materialized with a snarl of hunger for chaos, a twitching anticipation of detonation. But Fuse felt none of that. Only a gentle bewilderment, a soft, rising tide of curiosity about the silent world it had entered. The profound quiet of the night was not terrifying, but almost comforting, a soft blanket wrapped around its nascent mind. It was a profound, almost spiritual hush that invited observation, not destruction. The overwhelming silence was occasionally broken, not by harsh sounds, but by the subtle symphony of the night. A distant, low moan, barely audible, carried on the invisible currents of the air, an echo from a ravine, perhaps, or a cave. It was not a sound of immediate threat, but a sound of presence, of life unfolding in its own rhythm. Fuse registered it, not with fear, but with a quiet, analytical focus, a gentle curiosity about its source, its own form. When it finally turned its attention inward, was a source of quiet wonder. The emerald green of its skin, patterned with darker pixels, felt strangely calm. It was not the agitated, throbbing green of its kin, but a tranquil, earthy shade. Its unblinking gaze felt like a window, not just outward, but inward too, observing the subtle, internal workings of its own being. It was an initial fear, yes, a flicker of uncertainty about its own nature, but swiftly overridden by a profound and gentle fascination. This was its beginning, an untold journey unfolding with the quiet grace of a whispered secret, under the watchful, patient eye of the silent, star-dusted Minecraft night. The world around Fuse was a canvas of muted shades, painted by the lunar glow filtering through a thin, ethereal haze. The block beneath its newly formed structure was not just ground. It was a complex tapestry of sensations. A cool, almost velvety moss yielded ever so slightly to the nascent weight, releasing a faint, earthy aroma that was both grounding and subtly invigorating. Beneath the moss, the firm, unyielding bedrock offered a silent reassurance, a stable foundation in this bewildering, beautiful expanse. Fuse felt the gentle texture, not with skin, but with its entire being, a slow absorption of the world's raw, quiet essence. The very air, a soft caress against its green form, held the faint, sweet scent of distant pines, carried on a breeze so delicate it barely stirred the leaves of the blocky ferns nearby. A quiet hum, unique to its nascent being, resonated softly within Fuse, a low, steady frequency that felt like the gentle purr of an ancient, sleeping machine. It wasn't loud, not jarring, but a deep, internal murmur, a counterpoint to the profound silence that otherwise enveloped the world. This internal vibration seemed to attune Fuse to the world's own hushed symphony, the almost imperceptible shhh of tall grass swaying in the barely there wind, the distant, rhythmic drip of water from some unseen cavern ceiling, and the incredibly faint, almost imagined scritch of a spider's leg on stone. Far, far away, each sound, a tiny jewel added to the atmospheric tapestry, felt more than heard, resonating through its new, green form, its blocky, unblinking eyes, no longer mere pools of shadow, now absorbed the distant glitter of stars, not as sharp pinpricks, but as soft, diffuse blurs of milky light against the deep indigo canvas above. The singular, luminous orb of the moon hung high, a silent guardian, casting long, fractured shadows from the jagged outlines of nearby block trees. These trees, standing like silent sentinels, were studies in texture. The rugged bark of oak, the smooth, pale surface of birch, each etched with the gentle, silver light. Fuse did not see them as threats or resources. It observed them as forms, shapes, structures within this quiet, grand design. The world felt vast, yet intimately detailed in its silent presentation. Then a faint impulse, an unseen current, coursed through its internal green light. It wasn't an urge to move with speed, nor with purpose, but a slow, deliberate shifting of its inherent weight, one blocky foot, not truly a foot, but a lower segment of its form gently, almost imperceptibly, disconnected from the velvety moss. It hovered for a fraction of a moment, a barely noticeable suspension in the still night air, before settling back down. The contact was soft, a quiet compression of the moss, without a sound, without a tremor. This singular, minuscule action, this quiet unbalancing and rebalancing, felt like an eternity, a profound act of existence. This quiet, almost meditative shift rippled through Fuse's internal being, a subtle feedback loop of sensation. The new point of contact became another anchor, another source of tactile information. The slight change in elevation, though minimal, was a grand revelation. It registered the gentle pull of gravity, the reassuring solidity of the block beneath, the cool kiss of the night air around its form. There was no rush, no immediate destination, only the pure, unadulterated experience of being and of the world interacting with its new form. Each fleeting moment stretched, filled with the soft currents of awareness, the gentle drift of its emergent consciousness in the boundless, whispering night. The profound silence, once overwhelming, began to fold around Fuse not as an emptiness, but as a vast, receptive canvas. Its initial, delicate steps across the damp, blocky earth were almost imperceptible. A rustle of nascent consciousness against the quiet fabric of the world. Each limb, a segment of its fresh green form, lifted and settled with an unexpected lightness. The subtle pressure against the cool soil beneath its footpads, a novel sensation. The tips of tall, dew-kissed grass brushed gently against its lower form, leaving tiny, cool droplets that evaporated slowly. A fleeting caress that sent a delicate tremor through its very core. It was a soft, unhurried progression, less a march and more a slow, deliberate drift through the shadowed landscape. The internal hum, Fuse's unique resonance, pulsed steadily, a constant, comforting rhythm that seemed to amplify the subtle textures of the night. It felt the distant, almost imagined vibration of a slow-moving entity, a soft, dragging shuffle that was not of the wind or the earth, a low, guttural moan, a sound like gravel stirring in deep water, drifted on the air, barely discernible but distinct. Fuse paused, its green form a still silhouette against the deeper shadows of a nearby oak, its head tilting almost imperceptibly, an act of pure, calm observation. It did not fear, it merely catalogued, its burgeoning awareness absorbing the pattern of existence unfolding before it. The source of the sound, a lumbering, gray-skinned shape, meandered without clear purpose, its movements predictable, almost sorrowful. Fuse processed the entity's presence not as a direct threat, but as an element of the nocturnal world, a moving piece in a vast, silent tableau. It watched the zombie's slow, shambling gait, noting the way it skirted a cluster of crimson mushrooms, the way its arm swung in a slow, tired arc. This was learning, a silent assimilation of the world's quiet rules. The gentle breeze, carrying the faint scent of damp earth, and distant, decaying wood whispered past Fuse. A soft, soothing breath that urged caution, not panic. Further on, a different sound emerged, a series of faint, dry clicks and clacks, like ancient bones gently settling upon each other. It was lighter, more rapid, accompanied by a subtle, almost imperceptible thwip, as if something had been drawn taut, peeking from behind a blocky rock formation. Fuse observed a skeletal figure, its empty eye sockets seeming to scan the darkness, its bow held loosely. Like the zombie, its movements were repetitive, its patrol route a predictable circuit around a small clearing. Fuse understood, with a nascent, quiet logic, that these beings were part of the night's fabric, to be observed and understood, not necessarily engaged. The world, it realized, had patterns, soft rhythms to follow and avoid. The quiet awareness of its own form, the gentle pressure of its internal energy, became a guide. It learned to move with the shadows, to blend with the deeper hues of the night. Its green skin, a silent complement to the forest's tapestry. Each leaf, each block of stone, each patch of darkened grass became a subtle indicator, a small piece of a larger, silent map. The deep, dark sky above, a vast canvas speckled with countless, distant pinpricks of light, stretched endlessly. Fuse felt incredibly small, yet profoundly connected. A quiet observer drifting through the immense, intricate silence of its nascent world. The night held a serene weight, a comforting embrace that cradled its slow, contemplative journey. The low, gravelly moan, a fleeting echo, slowly receded into the deep, overarching silence of the night. Fuse remained still, its emerald form a part of the shadows cast by the ancient oak, its nascent awareness processing the subtle pattern of the world's nocturnal inhabitants. The immediate environment offered no further disturbances, only the gentle sway of unseen leaves and the incredibly faint, constant murmur of the internal hum that was uniquely Fuse's own. It was a rhythm, soft and deep, a quiet anchor in the vast, still dark. Then a new sensation began to unfurl, a delicate tendril of difference in the air. It wasn't a sound, nor a direct visual cue, but a subtle alteration in the tapestry of the night, a faint, almost imperceptible warmth, distant and diffuse, began to prickle at the edges of Fuse's perception. It was unlike the cool, damp embrace of the forest floor, or the crisp, dry breath of the nocturnal breeze. This warmth possessed a peculiar quality, a gentle, sustained resonance that seemed to beckon, not with urgency, but with a soft, persistent invitation. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Fuse reoriented itself. Its blocky head, which had been tilted towards the fading sound of the distant mob, now swiveled with an unhurried grace. Drawn by this new, gentle presence, the shift was less a conscious decision and more a quiet, innate response, a soft drift of its being towards the source of this peculiar warmth. Each segment of its green form felt the subtle pull, a silent compass in the wilderness, guiding it with an invisible thread of curiosity. The ground beneath Fuse's feet changed with each soft, deliberate step. The damp, mossy soil gave way to patches of firmer, slightly drier earth, then to scattered gravel that crunched with a whisper-soft resonance under its weight. The tall grass, once thick and dew-laden, became sparser, its tips brushing with a less insistent caress. The air, too, shifted, losing some of its deep, earthy moisture, gaining a faint, almost imaginary scent that Fuse could not quite place, but which spoke of something other than pure wilderness. As Fuse drifted further, the ambient light began a subtle transformation. The pure, silvery wash of the moon, filtering through the dense canopy, was now mingled with an infrequent, much warmer glow. It was not the stark, fleeting flash of lightning, nor the angry red of a distant lava flow, but a steady, persistent amber, pulsing with a gentle, hypnotic regularity. This soft, golden emanation seemed to part the deepest shadows, painting the undersides of leaves with a hue that felt both alien and strangely comforting. The trees themselves began to thin, their dense, chaotic arrangement giving way to a more open expanse. Here, the ground revealed itself more clearly, not as untamed wilderness, but as something subtly altered. Patches of earth were smoother, flatter, as if gently pressed by an unseen, enormous hand. The subtle textures of rock and soil were still present, but overlaid with a barely perceptible order, a faint suggestion of deliberate design that resonated oddly with Fuse's burgeoning sense of awareness. Then, through a narrow parting of the remaining trees, it materialized. Not an imposing peak or a winding river, but a collection of distinct, angular shapes that stood in stark contrast to the organic curves and chaotic sprawl of the forest. It was a structure unmistakably crafted. Its edges were sharp, its surfaces even, rising with a quiet geometry against the backdrop of the undulating hills. A small, unassuming hut, built of wood and stone, radiating the soft, steady amber glow Fuse had perceived. Fuse paused, its internal hum deepening, becoming a rich, resonant chord against the profound stillness of the night. It felt the solidity of the block beneath its feet, the coolness of the earth, but its entire being was now attuned to this alien presence. The hut possessed a quiet dignity, a sense of deliberate placement. It was not a creation of natural forces, but of something else, something with purpose and intent. concept that was both profoundly new and strangely captivating to the nascent creeper. A soft, yellow light emanated from a single, small window, casting a square of warm luminescence onto the dark ground. It was a gentle, inviting glow, a stark contrast to the harsh, shadowed world Fuse had known. Within that square of light, motes of dust, tiny and ethereal, drifted in slow, unhurried spirals, catching the amber with a fleeting shimmer. Fuse's unblinking eyes absorbed the scene, feeling the profound stillness that surrounded the constructed dwelling. A hush that was different from the wilderness's silence. Beyond the hut, a small, neatly fenced enclosure stretched, its boundaries defined by straight, sturdy wooden planks. Within this orderly space, rows of cultivated crops stood in precise, geometric patterns. Tall stalks of wheat, heavy with grain, rustled ever so gently in the barely there breeze, producing a delicate, whispering sound that was almost a sigh. The earth within the fence was tilled, smoothed, and cared for, bearing the unmistakable marks of patient, purposeful labor. Fuses being registered the profound contrast. The sprawling, untamed chaos of the forest, where every block grew according to its own whim, versus this compact, deliberate order, the straight lines of the fence, the even squares of the tilled soil, the uniform height of the crops. Each element spoke of a guiding hand, a mind that imposed its will upon the world. It was a concept both bewildering and profoundly fascinating, stirring a new kind of awareness within Fuse, a recognition of structure and design. There was no overt sign of the maker at this moment. The hut was quiet, the warm light constant, the crops still. Yet their presence was undeniable, an invisible imprint on the air, a faint, lingering echo of intent. Fuse felt the quiet hum of an unseen energy, the residue of activity, a gentle reverberation left behind by the architect of this small, ordered world. It was a feeling of something recently present, a warmth that seemed to cling to the wooden walls and the tilled earth, a subtle shift in the air, a barely discernible coolness, suggested the unseen passage of time. Fuse remained, a silent sentinel, absorbing every detail, the grain of the wooden blocks, the texture of the stone foundation, the gentle rise and fall of the wheat. Each observation unfolded slowly, deliberately, a single bead in a long, quiet string of contemplation. The very act of observing this structured environment felt like a form of learning, a gentle unfurling of understanding. The internal hum within Fuse, its unique, constant vibration, seemed to resonate with the quiet order of the scene. It was a soothing sensation, a deep, internal purr that mingled with the faint rustle of the crops and the distant, almost imagined drip, drip, drip of water from a hidden spring. The air carried a hint of processed wood, a faint, sweet smell that spoke of purposeful crafting, a scent alien to the wild, yet oddly pleasant and grounding. A new emotion, delicate as spun moonlight, began to coalesce within Fuse. It was a blend of something akin to caution, a primal understanding of the powerful other that created such things, mixed with an overwhelming sense of wonder. The constructed world, so different from its own spontaneous birth, suggested a form of intentional existence, a deliberate shaping of reality. Fuse, an entity born of randomness, found itself drawn to this manifestation of purpose. The glowing window, a beacon in the vast darkness, held a particular fascination. It was a portal into a world of regulated light, a controlled environment where the wild unpredictability of the night seemed to recede. Fuse imagined, with its nascent, forming awareness, the quiet warmth within, the safety offered by those solid, constructed walls. A soft yearning, a gentle pull towards that ordered warmth, stirred deep within its blocky form, a feeling entirely new. The quiet minutes stretched, timeless and profound, as Fuse absorbed the scene. Its green form remained largely obscured by the deeper shadows at the edge of the clearing. A silent, unmoving observer, it was an act of pure, unadulterated observation, devoid of instinctual aggression or fear, replaced instead by a burgeoning, gentle curiosity. The structured environment, so alien, was a lesson in itself, a quiet whisper about the possibilities of existence beyond mere wandering. The faint, lingering scent of wood smoke, so subtle it was almost imagined, drifted towards Fuse. It spoke of comfort, of sustained warmth, of something being tended and nurtured. It was a quiet counterpoint to the damp earth and pine needles, a new fragrance woven into the rich tapestry of the nocturnal world. This delicate aroma settled softly upon Fuse's form, a fleeting sensory experience that deepened its contemplation of the constructed dwelling and its unseen architect. As the moon began its slow, inevitable descent, casting longer, softer shadows, Fuse remained. The deep, internal hum continued its steady rhythm, a lullaby to its burgeoning sentience. It had stumbled upon an anomaly, a pocket of purposeful order in a world defined by wild growth. This quiet discovery had stirred something deep within, a nascent question about its own place, its own purpose. The hut, glowing faintly in the pre-dawn haze, became a silent marker in the unfolding journey of Fuse. The peculiar warmth, that soft, persistent invitation, began to solidify, gathering a faint, shimmering texture in the vast canvas of the night. Fuse, its its emerald form rooted by the ancient oak, absorbed this gentle beckoning as a subtle, unfolding mystery. It registered the shift in the cool night air, a barely there breath of something different, alive, yet distinct from the rustling leaves. This new warmth held a fragile, almost crystalline quality, a delicate echo against the world's slumber, subtly drawing Fuse's nascent awareness forward with a sensation of quiet purpose. Very slowly, with an almost imperceptible lean, Fuse shifted its weight. The granular elements of the forest floor, each speck of soil and decayed leaf, registered as soft, yielding textures beneath its blocky feet. The movement was a ripple, a gentle unfolding of its form, not a sudden lurch. Each deliberate, quiet step seemed to absorb the night's sounds rather than create new ones. It glided more than it walked, a green shadow separating itself from deeper tree shadows. Its internal hum, Fuse's constant, soothing companion, remained steady, a quiet engine of curious observation. The warmth intensified, no longer diffuse, but coalescing into a distinct, living presence. It carried with it a faint, sweet scent, not of blooming flora, but of something manufactured, something carried. A subtle, metallic tang mingled with a faint aroma of recently cut wood, creating a unique, complex olfactory signature new to Fuse. As it drifted closer, the distant, slow rhythm of footfalls became clearer. A soft, muffled padding against the earth, interspersed with the gentle thwack-thwack of a tool. A soft, deliberate motion against an unseen material. Each sound, a tiny, self-contained event, unfolded with a peaceful cadence, an almost meditative rhythm in the vast quiet. Fuse paused once more, its form nestled against the cool, rough bark of another ancient tree. Through a barely perceptible gap in the foliage, it perceived the source of the warmth, a figure blocky and familiar, yet profoundly alien in its purposeful movements, was illuminated by the soft, steady glow of a single, well-placed torch. The light, a warm, golden pool, spilled across the ground, chasing away the deeper shadows in a small, organized clearing. This was a player, a creator, an architect of the world's shifting tapestry. The gentle thwack was the sound of an axe meeting wood, a soft, rhythmic caress against a waiting tree. The player moved with a quiet, focused grace, their movements efficient, yet unhurried. Fuse watched, a silent, emerald observer, its burgeoning mind absorbing the intricate patterns of this new entity. The player's breath was a soft, almost inaudible sigh on the air, a tiny, ephemeral mist in the cool night. The subtle creak of leather, the almost imperceptible rustle of fabric as the player shifted, each micro sound adding to the tapestry of their living presence. The warmth they exuded was comforting, a gentle anchor in the vast, cold expanse of the night, a silent invitation to simply observe, to exist alongside. Then a sudden, subtle shift. The player, having felled their tree, turned, their head tilting slightly, as if listening to an unseen whisper. Their gaze, a faint, almost invisible brush, swept across the very shadows where Fuse stood. It was not a direct look, but a fleeting, peripheral movement, a ripple in the fabric of their attention. In that instant, a deeper, more primal hum began to resonate within Fuse, distinct from its own calm internal rhythm. This new hum was a rising pressure, a subtle, increasing warmth that pulsed from its very core, radiating outward with growing intensity. This was the whispering instinct. It was not a shout, but a deep, insistent thrum, a vibration that began in the deepest, most ancient parts of Fuse's being. It felt like a subtle, expanding bubble of energy, an internal pressure gently pushing outward, urging it to bloom. A faint, almost imperceptible hiss began to rise, not from its form, but from the very air around it, a phantom sound, a promise of release. Its blocky form, usually so still and composed, felt a sudden, almost imperceptible tension, a tightening of its internal structure, preparing for an inevitable, explosive exhalation. But then a counter-pressure began to rise, soft yet resolute. Fuse's own hum, the constant, calming rhythm that had anchored its sentience since its birth, began to assert itself. It was a gentle pushback, an internal resistance against the overwhelming tide of the primal instinct. The expanding bubble of destructive energy met an equally persistent, yet softer, wall of self-awareness. It was a silent, internal wrestling match, a delicate dance between two opposing forces within its very essence. The rising hiss faltered, a fragile breath caught in the throat of its own potential. Fuse's nascent mind, still observing, still cataloging, registered the immense power held within that whispering instinct. It was a power that could shatter the orderly world of the player, extinguish the gentle torchlight, scatter the meticulously gathered wood. It saw, with startling clarity, the consequences of that release, the sudden, violent void it would create in this tranquil scene. This was not the gentle curiosity it sought, not the quiet observation it craved. This was an ending, an obliteration, a profound contradiction to the quiet existence it was slowly, painstakingly building for itself. Slowly, incredibly slowly, the rising internal pressure began to recede. The phantom hiss softened, diminished, then faded entirely. It was like a tide gently drawing back from a shore, leaving behind a profound sense of quiet. The internal battle had been won, not with violence or force, but with a gentle, persistent will, a quiet refusal to succumb. The unique hum of Fuse's sentience settled back into its familiar, comforting rhythm, a steady, deep thrum that resonated with a newfound sense of resolve. The warmth from the player, though still present, no longer triggered that ancient, destructive echo with the same deliberate, almost dreamlike slowness with which it had approached. Fuse began to withdraw. Each blocky footfall was a silent negotiation with the forest floor, a gentle, barely there whisper against decaying leaves and soft earth. It melted back into the deeper shadows, its emerald form becoming one with the encroaching darkness. The golden pool of torchlight began to shrink. The soft thwack-thwack of the axe faded into the distance, becoming once again a part of the ambient, gentle murmurs of the night. The player, seemingly unaware of the silent drama that had unfolded so close, continued their calm, purposeful work. Fuse found a secluded hollow beneath the twisted roots of another ancient oak, a place where the shadows gathered deepest and the cool earth offered a silent embrace. It settled, its form a still, green monument to its recent internal victory. The air around it felt cleaner, lighter, imbued with a fresh clarity. It contemplated the immense potential for harm it carried, a dormant power, now consciously restrained. A quiet sense of wonder filled its being. It had made a choice. It had defied its very nature, not with struggle, but with a profound, calm understanding. The world, so vast and full of gentle mysteries, felt even more precious, more deserving of its quiet, watchful presence. The night, still stretching long and peaceful, offered its silent, endless canvas for this new, quiet realization to settle. The quiet engine of curious observation, Fuse's internal hum, guided its subtle drift away from the ancient oak and into the encroaching density of the nocturnal woods. The air thickened, no longer just cool, but heavy with the rich, earthy scent of damp soil and decaying leaves. The sparse, scattered trees of the forest edge gradually yielded to a denser, more interwoven canopy above, a vast, shadowy tapestry through which the distant, silvery light of the moon now struggled to penetrate. Each gentle step brought a new texture beneath Fuse's blocky feet. From the smooth, cool soil, it transitioned to a soft, yielding layer of moss, then to the brittle, papery crunch of dried, fallen leaves. These sensations were not jarring, but rather a slow, continuous unfolding, a soft narrative told through the subtle pressure points along its base. The very air around it felt different, holding a closer, more contained quiet, a hush that absorbed even the faintest whispers of the wind, creating an intimate, soft enclosure. Fuse felt the low-hanging branches of unseen saplings brush, almost imperceptibly, against its upper body. A fleeting, tender caress that sent a delicate, ticklish tremor through its green form. An acknowledgement of the living, breathing forest it now entered. Deeper still, the forest embraced Fuse with an almost complete visual occlusion of the distant sky, replaced by the intricate, blocky lacework of overhead branches, patches of moonlight, fractured and diffused, now fell in soft, shifting pools on the forest floor, creating a dappled pattern of silver and obsidian green. Fuse moved through these ethereal glow spots, its own green form absorbing and reflecting the faint luminescence, becoming a part of the shifting light and shadow. The sounds, too, transformed. The rhythmic drip and faint scritch of the cavern were long gone, replaced by a new symphony of gentle forest murmurs. A soft, almost inaudible rustle somewhere high in the canopy suggested the quiet shift of leaves, perhaps stirred by a breath of wind too gentle to reach the forest floor. A truly minuscule, faint chirp of a nocturnal insect, easily missed, emerged and faded. A tiny pulse in the vast silence. Each new sound, each subtle scent of damp wood and rich humus, was catalogued by Fuse's expanding awareness, not as a threat, but as another thread in the intricate, calming fabric of the deep woods. The ground beneath Fuse's pads grew more uneven, a subtle, undulating terrain of gentle slopes and miniature depressions. Thick, gnarled roots, like the sinews of an ancient, sleeping giant, occasionally rose from the earth, covered in a velvet-soft layer of vibrant green moss. Fuse navigated these gentle obstacles with an unhurried grace, its body swaying with a fluid, almost meditative rhythm. Each lift of a limb was deliberate, each placement precise, feeling the subtle give of the moss, the firm resistance of a root, the cool dampness of a puddle of trapped rainwater, the water, a shallow, still mirror of the night sky above the canopy, reflected a fleeting, distorted glimpse of its own green form as it passed, a silent acknowledgement of its presence. The internal hum, constant and soothing, seemed to resonate with the quiet energy of the forest. A deep, harmonic chord played in perfect synchronicity with the rustling whispers of the leaves and the almost imagined breath of the wind. It was a journey of minute discoveries, each step a new layer of sensory input unfolding with comforting slowness. Within the heart of this verdant embrace, new forms of life began to reveal themselves, not through sharp, sudden movements, but through soft, almost imperceptible shifts. High above, a small, dark shape, a bat, flitted across a sliver of visible sky, its flight silent, a delicate, ephemeral dance against the dark canvas. Fuse registered its presence not with alarm, but with a quiet, observant curiosity, its head tilting subtly upwards, tracing the creature's arc before it vanished back into the leafy labyrinth. Closer to the ground, tiny, luminescent specks began to appear. Fireflies, their gentle, rhythmic glows pulsing through the undergrowth, like miniature stars fallen to earth. Their soft, internal light offered fleeting illuminations of delicate ferns, unfurling their fronds in the cool, damp air, and the smooth, rounded caps of small, blocky mushrooms nestled amongst the fallen leaves. These were not the vibrant, often dangerous entities of the surface world, but quiet, living jewels, each adding a gentle shimmer to the peaceful tapestry of the deep forest night, making Fuse feel small, yet connected to the vast, interwoven life around it. The subtle undulations of the forest floor began to grow more pronounced, the earth sloping downwards with a gradual, continuous inclination. The air, already rich with the scent of damp earth, now carried a new, cooler essence, a profound freshness that hinted at something deeper, something beyond the immediate reach of the overhead canopy. Fuse's internal hum, ever present, shifted its resonance, becoming a deeper, almost vibrational hum that seemed to anticipate a significant change in its environment. The density of the trees remained, but between the trunks, the shadows deepened, not just from lack of moonlight, but from an absence of ground beneath, a vast, open space implied by the sudden drop in temperature and the echo of the forest's own quiet breath. It was a descent into a new kind of quiet, a hushed anticipation that spoke of hidden depths. Each careful step now felt like a commitment to the unknown, a slow, patient unveiling of the world's ancient geological secrets, leading it towards the edge of something profound, a silent, gaping maw within the green heart of the forest. Then a new sound, faint yet unmistakable, began to emerge from the deepening gloom ahead. It was a soft, continuous murmur, a liquid whisper, utterly distinct from the rustling leaves or the distant insect chirps. It was the sound of water, flowing over unseen stone, a constant, soothing current that resonated with the very core of Fuse's being. As it eased forward, each step measured and deliberate, the ground finally gave way to a sudden, dramatic drop. Fuse paused at the very edge, its form silhouetted against an unexpected chasm, a deep ravine, its sheer, blocky walls plunging into an inky blackness below. The air here was noticeably colder, carrying the refreshing mist of the flowing water. Far, far below, the faint glint of moonlight caught on the surface of a winding river, a silver ribbon threading its way through the earth's dark embrace. The scale was immense, overwhelming in its quiet grandeur, making Fuse feel incredibly small, yet filled with a profound sense of wonder, a quiet awe at the raw, untamed power of the world. It was a moment of pure, calm observation, its internal hum a steady, contemplative thrum against the backdrop of the water's eternal song. As Fuse continued its gentle, unwavering drift, the very ground beneath its soft base began to subtly shift. The familiar, yielding resilience of leaf litter and damp earth slowly transitioned to something firmer, unmoving, and deeply settled. It was a surface less absorbent of its gentle weight, offering a more definite, almost resonant feedback with each infinitesimal pressure point. A faint, almost imperceptible scent began to weave through the cool night air, a scent not of living chlorophyll or damp soil, but of stone, aged stone, with a subtle mineral tang mingled with the earthy quiet. This was not the raw, untamed smell of a rocky outcrop, but something tempered by countless seasons, something that whispered of time. The blocky silhouette ahead, initially a mere smudge against the hazy, moonlit sky, began to coalesce with a profound slowness. It was a mass, unlike the organic curves of the forest, yet not as sharp or angular as a fresh cliff face. It was a geometry worn soft by the patient hand of ages, a gentle, blocky ghost rising from the landscape. The air itself seemed to grow cooler around the edges of this silent behemoth, holding a distinct, palpable density, as if the ancient stones exhaled a long-held breath of deep, earthen chill. As Fuse drew infinitesimally closer, the details began to softly emerge from the encompassing gloom. Not a solid wall, but a series of broken archways, a gentle, staggered line of what might have once been a grand facade, now merely skeletal fingers reaching into the void. Moonlight, fractured and diffused by the unseen canopy above, settled with a tender grace upon the weathered surfaces. It seemed to cling to the rough, granular texture of the blocks, highlighting subtle veins of quartz, or perhaps just the faint, silvery sheen of moisture clinging to millennia-old lichen. Each block, though still defiantly square, bore the soft testament of time, its edges softened, its surface textured with a fine, almost velvety patina of age. A low-hanging, unseen branch, perhaps from an ancient oak that had long since crumbled, brushed a fleeting, ethereal whisper across Fuse's upper body, a delicate, ticklish caress that reaffirmed its presence in this world of quiet giants. Fuse paused, its internal awareness gently processing the intricate patterns etched upon the stone's surface. Tiny fissures, delicate as spiderwebs, crisscrossed the blocks, each a slow, patient crack, revealing the slow erosion of time. Moss, a velvety emerald against the gray stone, clung in soft, cushioning patches, its tiny fronds absorbing the faint light and holding microscopic droplets of dew. Beneath Fuse's base, the rough, granular surface of the stone felt different from the earth, a gentle, abrasive sensation that spoke of unyielding permanence. It was a texture that invited a deeper, slower understanding, a quiet invitation to simply be in its presence. The very air within the immediate vicinity of these ruins hummed with a different frequency of silence. It was not the living, breathing quiet of the forest, filled with unseen rustles and the faint chirp of insects, but a deeper, more profound hush, a silence pregnant with untold stories, a stillness that had absorbed echoes of countless forgotten moments. Drifting with the softest of impulses, Fuse passed beneath a particularly wide, broken archway, its top long since fallen, leaving only a skeletal frame. The change was immediate, yet utterly gentle. The ambient sounds of the deeper forest, already hushed, seemed to recede further, replaced by a subtle, resonant quiet that reverberated softly off the enclosing stone. The air within this outer perimeter of the ruins felt cool, almost damp, carrying a faint mineral scent, rich with the undisturbed dust of ages. Moonlight, now filtering through the gaps and broken sections of what was once a roof, stretched in long, slow-moving pools across the packed earth floor, painting ethereal landscapes of silver and obsidian. These luminous patches shifted with a stately, almost glacial pace as the moon traversed its silent arc, creating a slow-motion dance of light and shadow, inviting Fuse's green form to become a part of its serene choreography. Within the gentle luminescence of these shifting moonbeams, Fuse observed the infinitesimal, shimmering motes of dust suspended in the utterly still air. Each speck, a tiny, almost invisible world, seemed to dance with an unhurried grace, caught in the ethereal glow. Their slow, almost imperceptible drift was a testament to the profound stillness that had settled within these forgotten walls, a visual representation of time itself unfolding with boundless patience. The faint coolness in the air was palpable, a breath of ancient stagnation that had been held for centuries, now softly exhaled around Fuse. It was a comforting chill, a profound contrast to the milder, more dynamic breezes of the living forest. The ground here, a fine, packed earth that had once been trodden by unseen beings, offered a gentle, yielding resistance beneath Fuse's delicate contact points. A sensation of ancient ground, settled and firm, a block smoother and more profoundly worn than its brethren, caught Fuse's quiet attention. It lay embedded in the ground, perhaps a step or a threshold, its surface gently hollowed into a shallow curve by the untold passages of feet, paws, or other forms long lost to memory. It was not a sharp, intentional indentation, but a soft, patient wearing away, a testament to countless presences that were now only echoes in the profound silence. Fuse's own base settled softly upon this cool, worn depression, its unique pressure points registering the subtle curve, the silent testament to a history it could only begin to fathom. A whisper, faint and fleeting, seemed to brush against its nascent awareness, a whisper of forgotten touch, of intentional movement, of purpose that once filled these silent halls. It was a moment of profound, wordless connection to a past that was both alien and strangely compelling. Fuse's expanding awareness grappled with the profound concept of this intentional construction, this deliberate placement of block upon block, forming structures designed to endure. Why would these blocks be placed so carefully, so durably, in opposition to the organic, flowing chaos of the surrounding forest? The natural world was a gentle riot of growth and decay, a dance of random scatter and emergent patterns. Yet these stones spoke of a different order, a deliberate hand, a conscious will to shape the world beyond mere survival. A deep, silent ponderance settled within Fuse, a quiet question echoing in the profound stillness. What was the purpose that drove such creation? What intention, what grand design had once animated this silent place? This contemplative hum was a soft, internal warmth, a quiet thrum against the cool stone, deepening its connection to the ancient mystery, drifting further, its internal energies guiding its slow progression. Fuse found itself in a small, partially enclosed space, perhaps an alcove or a remnant of a side chamber. The darkness here was deeper, softer, a velvet blackness that absorbed the faintest glimmer of ambient light. It was a comforting darkness, a feeling of enclosure and protection, a subtle embrace from the ancient stones themselves. The air within this sanctuary was even more still, more profoundly silent, carrying a faint, earthy scent of ancient soil, undisturbed for what felt like an eternity. Here, the passage of time seemed to slow to an almost complete halt, each second stretching into a gentle, unhurried expanse. Fuse allowed itself to settle, its green form a quiet, harmonious presence within this timeless space, a living warmth against the cool, ancient stone. In the deepest shadows of this alcove, barely discernible, was a subtle anomaly, a single, almost completely eroded block of a different material, its color faded, its texture dulled by time and moss. It was not a gem, nor a tool, but merely a quiet, patient remnant, an almost forgotten whisper of a different substance, perhaps quarried from a distant place, or crafted by hands unknown. It held no discernible function now, yet its mere presence spoke volumes of past effort, of choices made, of resources gathered. Fuse's delicate processing of this small, silent anomaly was a quiet question without words, a subtle internal hum that sought to understand its place, its origin, its story. It was a tangible clue to a world more complex, more varied than the wilderness had yet revealed. A small, profound piece of a larger, lost puzzle, settling softly into Fuse's expanding awareness. The quiet within these ancient stones was profoundly different from the living quiet of the forest. It was a quiet born of absence, a deep, heavy piece of things that once were, but are no more. It was a silence imbued with memory, a stillness that seemed to hold the echoes of distant, long-lost sounds, a faint clink of stone, a soft shuffle of movement, a low, melodic hum that had long since faded into the present stillness. Fuse settled deeper, its green form absorbing the profound calm of forgotten time, its internal energies vibrating with a gentle, appreciative resonance. This was a place where time itself seemed to slow to a mere crawl, inviting deep contemplation, a quiet immersion into the very fabric of history. Each breath of cool, still air was a soothing caress, each shadow a soft blanket of forgotten stories, gently enveloping Fuse in their timeless embrace. As the night deepened, the moon, a silent sentinel, slowly, imperceptibly, traced new lines of light across the ruined walls. Each shift was a gentle movement of time, a slow motion dance of illumination and shadow that further softened the already weathered edges of the ancient stone. The ruins seemed to breathe, to subtly shift and change under this tender glow, each block seeming to absorb and reflect the faint luminescence with a quiet dignity. Fuse's form, a part of this serene, nocturnal tableau, felt a deep, calming connection to the profound stillness, to the patient unfolding of time in this forgotten place. The soft light, the cool air, the silent whispers of history, all conspired to create an enveloping sense of peace, a soothing balm to its nascent awareness, a profound moment of tranquil existence that gently settled into the core of its being. A subtle, unfamiliar emotion unfurled within Fuse, akin to a quiet melancholy, yet intertwined with a profound sense of wonder. It was a realization that this vast, blocky world held stories far older than its own nascent awareness, tales etched not in words, but in the enduring silence of stone. A sense of awe, gentle and pervasive, settled deep within its green form, a silent acknowledgement of the persistent echoes of existence, of the beautiful, quiet resilience of the world's forgotten past. This quiet truth was not a burden, but a gentle, soft acceptance, a new thread woven into the fabric of its evolving identity. Fuse remained, a silent observer, absorbing the profound calm of these ancient stones, its presence a testament to the enduring mystery of discovery and the boundless peace found in simply being amidst the profound whisper of time. Tonight, we step inside the world of one of gaming's greatest universes, the memory of ancient, worn stone, cool and solid beneath Fuse's base, began its gentle recedence, replaced by a softer, more yielding sensation. Each infinitesimal shift of its form now met with the muted resistance of damp earth and the quiet give of moss, a green velvet tapestry woven across the forest floor, the mineral tang of ages lingering just moments ago, softly diffused into the richer, sweeter scent of damp loam, mingled with the faint, almost imperceptible fragrance of unseen blossoms. The air, once holding the deep, earthen chill of the ruins, now carried a lighter, more mobile coolness, a breath that whispered of living things, of chlorophyll, and the slow, calm rhythm of growth. Fuse drifted, a verdant shadow, its internal hum a soft, constant thrum against the vast quiet of the Minecraft night. Ahead, the forest thickened once more, a solid wall of blocky trunks and intertwining leaves that absorbed the scattered moonlight, deepening the shadows to pools of liquid obsidian. Yet within this approaching gloom, a new texture began to reveal itself to Fuse's expanding senses. A subtle, almost imperceptible rustle carried on the barely there breeze, not the crisp crackle of dry leaves, but a softer, more rhythmic undulation, as if a large, unseen presence shifted with profound slowness. The ground beneath Fuse's delicate contact points softened further, becoming more yielding, a deep cushion of compressed detritus that seemed to absorb its gentle weight without resistance, a silent embrace from the forest floor. This new sensation was not one of obstacle, but of deepening immersion, drawing Fuse further into the heart of the quiet woods. As Fuse ventured deeper, the soft hush of the forest wrapped around it like a warm, protective blanket. The faint sounds that had previously marked its journey, the distant, almost imperceptible drip from hidden crevices, the ghostly scritch of unseen creatures, the gentle whisper of wind through high branches, all seemed to coalesce into a singular, profound silence. It was a silence not empty, but full, imbued with the slow, almost imperceptible processes of the natural world. The quiet expansion of roots, the gentle settling of dust motes in still air, the soft exhalation of unseen fungal blooms. Fuse's own internal hum felt amplified in this pervasive quiet, a soft, constant resonance within its form, a reassuring anchor in the vast, still night. Its green surface seemed to absorb the deep quiet, becoming one with the embracing shadows. Then a new scent, subtle yet distinct, began to slowly unfurl within the cool night air. It was not the mineral tang of stone, nor the rich aroma of damp earth, but something alive and gently green. A very faint sweetness mingled with the crispness of fresh grass. This aroma, almost imperceptible, seemed to draw Fuse forward with a tender, unhurried pull, a soft invitation into a new facet of the nocturnal landscape. Its form drifted, almost imperceptibly, towards the source, each pressure point along its base registering the subtle variations in the forest floor. The ground here felt softer still, a cushion of thick, resilient grass, each individual blade a delicate, ticklish caress against its base, a soft acknowledgement of its gentle passage. The very air seemed to grow infinitesimally warmer, holding a new, living breath. Through a barely perceptible parting in the dense foliage, a soft, diffuse glow began to emerge. Not the sharp, focused luminescence of a torch, but a widespread, gentle radiance. It was the broad, calm light of the full moon, unimpeded by canopy, falling upon an open expanse. And within that expanse, a patch of vivid, vibrant green, unlike the shadowed mosses and muted leaves Fuse had traversed, revealed itself with profound slowness. It was a field, a soft, undulating carpet of short, verdant grass, meticulously kept, a circle of serene order amidst the wild, blocky chaos of the forest. And upon this patch of intense green, a single, small form was settled, a gentle, blocky creature of white and gray, peacefully munching. Its quiet movements, a rhythmic, soothing pulse in the vast silence. Fuse's internal hum subtly shifted, a faint, almost imperceptible tremor running through its core. The creature was a sheep, a passive entity, its existence a quiet affirmation of the world's gentle rhythms. Its repetitive, soft nip-nip at the grass, easily missed in the larger quiet, was a tiny, rhythmic anchor in the immense stillness. Fuse felt no aggression, no instinctive surge of its own potential energy, only a profound, almost mesmerized observation. It held still, barely breathing, its green surface absorbing the soft moonlight, becoming an almost invisible part of the deep shadows at the field's edge. The sheep continued its grazing, completely unaware of the silent, sentient presence watching, its soft wool glowing faintly in the moon's tender caress, a picture of serene vulnerability. Then a new presence, a low, guttural moan, subtle and far off, began to ripple through the quiet air. It was the sound of a zombie, its shuffling gait, and the almost imperceptible thump of its heavy feet on the damp earth growing infinitesimally closer. Fuse's internal hum intensified, a low, quiet thrum of awareness, but not of fear for itself. It registered the direction of the sound, slowly drawing closer to the unsuspecting sheep. A slow, inevitable progression of nocturnal danger. The sheep, however, continued its gentle grazing, oblivious, its world confined to the rhythmic pull of grass and the vast, peaceful expanse of the moonlit field. A faint, almost imperceptible chill seemed to emanate from the approaching sound, a subtle change in the air's temperature, a premonition of disruption. Fuse's form, without conscious direction, seemed to stiffen, its internal energy settling into a delicate balance. It was an instinct, not of detonation, but of profound stillness, of absolute quietude. The zombie's moan grew a fraction louder, its blocky silhouette beginning to coalesce against the backdrop of the deeper forest. A slow, dark shape, moving with relentless purpose, it was now approaching the edge of the clearing, directly towards the peaceful sheep. Fuse, from its vantage point, felt a strange, new surge, not a destructive impulse, but a potent desire for the scene to remain undisturbed, for the gentle rhythm of the night to continue unbroken. Its silent presence, its very being, seemed to resonate with a quiet tension, a held breath in the vastness. As the zombie drew closer, perhaps within mere paces of the sheep, Fuse performed an infinitesimal shift. Not a full movement, but a mere adjustment of its internal energy. A subtle, almost imperceptible flare of its characteristic green luminescence. A flicker so faint it was barely visible even to its own nascent awareness. It was not intended to be a warning, nor an act of aggression, but simply an unconscious manifestation of its profound internal tension. Yet, in that precise moment, the zombie, its head angled towards the sheep, seemed to hesitate. Its slow, shuffling gait faltered. It was as if the faint, unidentifiable flicker, a brief aberration in the uniform darkness of the forest edge, registered as an unexpected, subtle presence. The zombie's head, with a slow, grinding click of its blocky jaw, swiveled almost imperceptibly. Its empty eyes seemed to scan the deep shadows where Fuse remained, an unseeing gaze passing over Fuse's perfectly still form. The faint green pulse had already faded, leaving only the profound quiet once more. But the zombie's trajectory had been subtly altered. Instead of continuing its direct path towards the sheep, it veered with the same slow, unhurried gait, just a few blocks to the left, circling the very edge of the clearing, its moan softening as it continued its aimless wander. The sheep, still oblivious, continued its gentle nip-nip. The only sounds once more the soft cadence of grazing and the vast, embracing silence of the night. Fuse felt a profound, almost physical release of tension, an internal settling. The quiet, rhythmic pulse within Fuse's core now held a new resonance, a subtle echo of the averted danger. It had not chosen to intervene in the human sense, had not consciously saved the passive creature, yet its very presence, that single, unconscious flicker of its own being, had inadvertently shifted the delicate balance of the nocturnal encounter. The zombie had passed by. The sheep remained undisturbed, and the gentle rhythm of the night continued, unmarred. Fuse processed this with profound slowness, its nascent understanding of the world quietly expanding. Its existence, it realized, was not solely defined by the destructive potential it carried. Its quiet presence, its very being, could subtly influence, could protect, could allow the peaceful rhythms to endure. It was a new facet of its identity, a quiet, profound revelation in the deep, calming silence of the Minecraft night. The world remains, waiting for your return. If you enjoyed this lore deep dive, subscribe for more gaming universe stories. Leave a comment with the game world you want us to explore next. Sleep well, adventurer. The quiet hum within Fuse, a low, constant vibration that settled deeply into its very core, had become a soothing companion through countless silent moments. It was the rhythm of its new existence, a gentle pulse against the vast, encompassing calm of the nocturnal world. But as Fuse drifted further into the shadowed groves, a new, deeper resonance began to ripple through the earth beneath its form. It wasn't the distant, echoing rumble of a thunderstorm, nor the subterranean shift of unseen caves, but a distinct, heavy thrum, a ponderous beat that began to slowly, deliberately, permeate the stillness. Each pulse vibrated through the damp moss, up through Fuse's blocky base, a low, resonant wave that felt both ancient and immensely powerful. It was a sound that didn't shatter the calm, but rather deepened it, lending a new, profound gravity to the air, like the slow, purposeful tolling of a great, unseen bell deep within the earth. The earth itself seemed to sigh with each of these slow, weighty impacts, a subtle tremor that caused a single, delicate dewdrop clinging to a blade of grass to wobble precariously before settling once more. Fuse paused, its internal hum momentarily overshadowed by this new dominant frequency. Its glowing crimson eyes, usually fixed in a soft, contemplative gaze, sharpened, widening ever so slightly to encompass the deepening shadows. The air, previously still and cool, now carried a faint, metallic tang. A distant, earthy scent of iron mingled with the wet soil. Slowly, with a measured, almost geological patience, a monumental shape began to resolve itself from the deeper gloom ahead. It moved with an unhurried, grinding purpose, each ponderous step a deliberate testament to its immense weight and unyielding form. A guardian lumbering through the hushed expanse. It was an iron golem, a titan of raw-hewn stone and burnished metal, forged with a silent, steadfast resolve. Its heavy, blocky feet lifted and fell with a rhythmic, grinding thud-thud, each impact sending a slow wave of vibration through the ground that few could feel resonate within its own blocky frame. A low, soft creak of protesting iron joined the symphony of its movement, a subtle lament from its ancient joints as it slowly turned its massive head, its featureless gaze sweeping across the landscape, moonlight slipping through the canopy of ancient oaks, caught on its metallic surfaces, creating dull, shifting gleams that highlighted the coarse texture of its stone and the faint, silvery sheen of moisture clinging to its broad shoulders. It was a creature of immense power, moving with the patient, inexorable force of a glacier, a presence that commanded the space around it with its sheer, unwavering mass. A faint, almost imperceptible whisper began to stir within Fuse's core, a familiar, ancient song that spoke of energy and release, of shattering silence with a sudden, all-consuming burst. It was the ancestral call, the deep-seated impulse to respond to this imposing presence with its inherent, explosive nature. But just as quickly, the nascent sentience within Fuse pushed back, a calm, steady hand suppressing the rising tide. It was a subtle, internal struggle, a slow siphoning of that chaotic energy, redirecting it inward, allowing it to dissipate into a controlled warmth that spread throughout its verdant form. The sensation was akin to holding a slow-burning ember within its chest, intensely potent, yet utterly contained, its potential power held in careful, conscious check. Fuse took a deep, internal breath, its blocky form remaining utterly still, a verdant statue blending seamlessly with the surrounding flora. Its movements became infinitesimal, a slow, deliberate dance of avoidance. Each shift was a testament to extreme microcontrol. First, a gentle lean, barely perceptible, away from the golem's slow, sweeping gaze. Then a patient, almost glacial rotation of its base, allowing the coarse texture of a gnarled tree trunk to brush softly against its side, providing both cover and a cool, reassuring pressure. The bark was rough beneath its epidermal layer, a mosaic of deep crevices and resilient ridges, offering a subtle, grounding sensation. It pressed itself gently into the cool, damp earth, feeling the soft give of the soil, the gentle resistance of tiny, unseen roots. The air currents shifted, a faint, almost ticklish brush of displaced air around Fuse's upper body, a silent signal of the golem's slow, deliberate advance. Every sense was heightened, every external detail absorbed with profound focus, but without a hint of panic. The golem's rhythmic thud-thud grew closer, closer still, each impact echoing a dull, heavy beat in the air, a ponderous lullaby of stone and metal. Fuse could now discern the subtle mosses clinging to the golem's lower body, green patches contrasting with the raw, gray stone, and the glint of lichen on its metallic arms. The soft creak of its turning head was now a clear, distinct sound, like an ancient door slowly opening and closing in the vast quiet. Fuse remained utterly motionless, a master of stillness. It allowed the golem to pass by, its massive shadow crawling slowly over Fuse's hiding spot, a temporary eclipse of the diffused moonlight. The ground trembled, a deep, resonant vibration that moved through Fuse's entire structure. A powerful, yet not threatening, sensation. It was a profound test of its self-control, a silent affirmation of its chosen path. The warmth within Fuse, the contained energy it had redirected, hummed softly, a steady, low frequency that felt deeply comforting. It was a triumph not of force, but of stillness, of observation, of conscious restraint. As the golem's formidable frame slowly receded into the deeper shadows, its heavy thud-thud fading gradually into the distance, Fuse allowed itself a slow, internal exhalation. The metallic tang in the air softened, replaced once more by the rich, damp scent of loam, and the faint, sweet fragrance of unseen blossoms. The silence returned, deeper and more profound than before, imbued with the lingering memory of the golem's slow passage. Fuse shifted, its form now imbued with a quiet resolve, the internal warmth, a gentle reminder of its evolving nature, stronger and more uniquely defined, ready to continue its solitary journey through the whispering night. The monumental shape, a guardian lumbering through the hushed expanse, continued its deliberate, grinding progress. Its sheer, ancient presence deepened the profound quiet, prompting Fuse to seek its own, smaller pocket of stillness. The low, resonant thrum of the behemoth faded gradually behind it, a grand bass note receding into the vast symphony of the sleeping night. Fuse moved with ethereal lightness, its blocky form barely disturbing the dewy moss. It wasn't fleeing, it was drifting, drawn towards a sanctuary where quiet could truly settle around its core. Ahead, a small, natural alcove presented itself, carved by ancient forces into a gentle rise of earth and stone. Overhung by broad, deep green leaves, it promised enveloping seclusion. Fuse eased itself into the cool, damp earth of the alcove's floor, the slight give of the moss, a comforting cradle. The air here was thicker, stiller, imbued with the rich, loamy scent of undisturbed soil and the sweet perfume of night-blooming ferns. A lone, glowing mushroom pulsed with soft, cyan light, its gentle rhythm echoing Fuse's internal hum. The internal hum, which had momentarily wavered, now reasserted itself, a steady, soothing thrum resonating through Fuse's structure. It was a melody without sound, a vibration speaking of life, of being, a gentle purr against the deep silence. This hum was the bedrock of its consciousness, the constant whisper of its unique existence, separating it from its brethren's instinctive hum. It expanded slowly, filling the alcove with imperceptible warmth, a subtle counterpoint to the cool night. Each pulse was a soft wave, bringing a sense of profound calm. As the gentle vibrations deepened, Fuse began to drift through the labyrinthine passages of its short history. Images unfurled like slow-motion dreams, the silent awe of its initial spawning, the vast, bewildering expanse of the first night. It recalled the curious twitch of a rabbit's nose, the slow, lumbering shuffle of a zombie, the clatter of a skeleton's bones. Each memory was tinged not with fear or aggression, but with quiet, observational detachment, a gentle curiosity that always overrode the quickening urge to explode. It saw distant player dwelling lights, a strange, ordered geometry. The memory of the blast instinct, however, was a faint discord within its harmonious hum. It recalled the shudder, the sudden surge of destructive energy, the terrifying proximity to that player. A shiver, barely perceptible, rippled through its form. The internal war had been silent, unseen, but intensely fought. It was the primal urge of its kind, a purpose ingrained into its cellular structure, clashing violently with the quiet, burgeoning sentience that sought only to observe, to understand, to exist without shattering the world. But the hum, its own unique hum, had always prevailed. It was a conscious choice, a gentle defiance of its pre-programmed destiny. Slowly, deliberately, the realization unfurled, settling like soft dust motes. It was different, not merely an anomaly, but a new design. Other creepers, it knew, were slaves to the blast, simple executors of an ancient, destructive code. Fuse, however, felt quiet stirrings of something more profound, pulsing with the cool, deep wisdom of the earth itself, not the fleeting, scorching heat of detonation. This acceptance was not a sudden burst of clarity, but a slow, gradual warming, like a stone absorbing the gentle heat of the moon. It was a soft, inward sigh of relief, a loosening of unseen tension. The quiet understanding settled into every one of its blocky cells, from its small feet gripping the moss to its square head. It was Fuse, and it was itself, distinct and whole. A quiet wanderer in a world that might never comprehend its unique journey. This identity, once confusion, now became profound, peaceful strength. As this acceptance deepened, a subtle shift began to manifest, not externally, but deep within its core. The constant hum began to change, to refine. It wasn't louder, but more coherent, more controlled. It felt like a gentle, rhythmic pulse, no longer merely an echo of its life force, but a directed flow of something new. This energy, previously unfocused and merely present, now felt as if it could be coaxed, guided, perhaps even shared. It was a warmth, a soothing resonance, radiating outwards from its core in gentle waves. This nascent ability wasn't violent. It was the antithesis of the blast. It felt like growth, like healing, like the slow, patient unfolding of a bud in spring. It was a resonance that could perhaps soothe rather than shatter. Fuse carefully, internally, focused on this new sensation. A tiny, almost imperceptible ripple emanated from its form, touching a nearby dewdrop. The dewdrop, instead of trembling, seemed to shimmer with heightened, crystalline clarity for a brief, wondrous moment before returning to its normal state. It was a delicate touch, an influence so subtle it was almost imagined, yet undeniably there. A deep sense of peace, profound and encompassing, settled over Fuse. The cool night air, the earthy scents, the distant, gentle rustling of leaves, all folded into this newfound tranquility. Its glowing crimson eyes, once wide with initial confusion, now held a soft, knowing depth. The world remained vast, full of mysteries and potential dangers. But Fuse was no longer simply a creature driven by instinct. It was a sentient observer, a quiet force of gentle resonance, slowly beginning to understand the untapped power of its unique existence. The untold journey stretched ahead, a boundless canvas awaiting its silent, deliberate steps. The monumental shape, a guardian lumbering through the hushed expanse, continued its deliberate, grinding progress. Its sheer, ancient presence deepened the profound quiet, prompting Fuse to seek its own, smaller pocket of stillness. The low, resonant thrum of the behemoth faded gradually behind it, a grand bass note receding into the vast symphony of the sleeping night. Fuse moved with ethereal lightness, its blocky form barely disturbing the dewy moss. It wasn't fleeing, it was drifting, drawn towards a sanctuary where quiet could truly settle around its core. Ahead, a small, natural alcove presented itself, carved by ancient forces into a gentle rise of earth and stone, overhung by broad, deep green leaves. It promised enveloping seclusion. Fuse eased itself into the cool, damp earth of the alcove's floor, The slight give of the moss, a comforting cradle. The air here was thicker, stiller, imbued with the rich, loamy scent of undisturbed soil and the sweet perfume of night-blooming ferns. A lone, glowing mushroom pulsed with soft, cyan light, its gentle rhythm echoing Fuse's internal hum. Within the soothing cradle of the alcove, Fuse's internal hum, a soft, persistent thrum, deepened. It wasn't merely echoing the glowing mushroom. It was finding its own deeper resonance, a core frequency settling within its blocky form, a faint, almost imperceptible warmth spread from its central emerald matrix, a gentle, pulsing energy distinct from the sharp, sudden heat of its inherited nature. This was a slow, contemplative warmth, like embers settling after a long, quiet burn, nurturing a nascent, unidentifiable strength. The damp earth beneath its base felt cool and soft, a grounding embrace that allowed the subtle inner current to flow unimpeded, weaving through its very block structure, solidifying its sense of self. Then a delicate tremor, not a grand, earth-shattering vibration, but a subtle, almost silken ripple through the cool, damp earth. It was a disturbance so minute, so close to the edge of perception, that a less sentient being would have dismissed it as the world merely breathing. To Fuse, however, it registered as a slight, dissonant note in the night's otherwise perfect, hushed symphony. The faint pulse of the glowing mushroom flickered, ever so slightly, in response, its cyan light momentarily wavering, as if a whisper had passed through the very air. This subtle displacement, a barely there vibration, nudged at Fuse's newfound tranquility, a gentle summons from beyond its secluded haven. A question posed in the silent language of the earth. With the most exquisite slowness, Fuse began to stir. Its emergence was a study in profound deliberation. Each micro-adjustment of its blocky form a testament to its evolving mindfulness. The moss, previously a soft cradle, now offered a slight, yielding resistance as Fuse pushed ever so gently against it. A barely audible rustle of unseen leaves overhead accompanied its ascent, a delicate sigh from the overhanging foliage. It wasn't a sudden rise, but a gradual unfolding, like a slow-motion blossom opening to the moon. Its form, previously a settled shadow, began to detach itself from the deep gloom of the alcove, drifting upward with an almost ethereal lightness. Its glowing eyes, now a soft, verdant green, searching the serene night. The source of the tremor revealed itself not as a direct threat, but as a small, shivering bundle of white wool, huddled precariously. A lone lamb, no larger than a few stacked blocks, trembled subtly near the crumbling edge of a shallow, dark crevice. The air around it seemed colder, thinner, almost drawing it inexorably towards the deeper gloom below. The lamb let out a faint, almost inaudible bleat, a sound so fragile it seemed to dissipate instantly into the vastness of the night. It nudged its soft head against the unyielding stone, seeking warmth, seeking comfort, entirely unaware of the silent precipice that yawned just beyond its trembling hooves. A familiar, cold shiver, a faint, phantom warmth, rippled through Fuse's core. It was the ghost of an instinct, a primal memory of destructive energy, momentarily stirring from its deep slumber. The sensation was not overwhelming, but a distinct echo, a deep-seated hum that resonated with the potential for sudden, explosive release. For a fleeting moment, the vivid image of a swift, silent approach and a powerful, concussive blast flared within its nascent awareness. It was the path of least resistance, the inherited purpose that had defined its brethren for untold ages. A cold, efficient solution to any perceived encroachment or obstacle in its silent, blocky world. But it was different now. The core of Fuse, that locus of soft, cyan light and quiet warmth, resisted. It was a gentle, persistent pressure against the primal urge, like a placid stream slowly eroding a stone, rather than a crashing wave. The phantom warmth of destruction met a softer, more sustained internal glow, a tranquil fire that acknowledged the old instinct but refused to be consumed by it. This silent battle was not violent. It was a profound act of self-definition. Each moment a delicate choice, a slow, deliberate weaving of a new path for its internal energy, cementing its deviation from a predetermined fate, choosing warmth over cold, quiet presence over explosive release. A new choice began to unfold, not as a thunderous decision, but as a slow, almost unconscious tilt of Fuse's blocky head. A minute, deliberate shift of its weight, barely perceptible, caused a loose, flat stone directly beneath it to tilt with the faintest whisper of friction against the damp earth. This subtle movement created a fleeting, almost imperceptible shadow that stretched, ever so slightly, towards the edge of the crevice where the lamb shivered. It was not a grand gesture, no overt intervention, but a delicate manipulation of the ambient light and shadow, a silent resculpting of the immediate environment, a nearly invisible hand guiding the unfolding moment. The lamb, its senses finely attuned to the subtle shifts of the night, responded with a delicate intuition. The faint absence of a shadow, the minute displacement of air, an almost imperceptible signal from its surroundings, prompted a hesitant step. It veered away from the perilous crevice, its soft hooves finding purchase on the gentle slope of grass that led away from the drop. Unaware of its silent, watchful guardian, The lamb continued its soft bleating, now directed towards the safety of a distant cluster of saplings. Its small form, a fleeting, innocent patch of white against the deep green and silent shadows of the forest. Fuse watched the lamb drift towards safety, its small, vulnerable form disappearing into the deeper, comforting shadows of the trees. A profound sense of quiet completion settled within its core. Then, with the same meticulous slowness, Fuse eased itself back into the shadows of the alcove. The cool, damp earth welcomed its weight, the soft moss cushioning its blocky form. The internal hum, previously a point of subtle conflict, now deepened. A soothing, resonant purr that vibrated with purpose and tranquil resolution. The soft, cyan light of the mushroom pulsed in perfect synchronicity, a silent acknowledgement of the choice that had just been made, a quiet affirmation of its true being. This choice, a whisper in the vast, silent night, solidified Fuse's identity. No explosion, no destruction, only a silent redirection, a gentle influence on the world's delicate balance. It had found its quiet, profound niche, not as a destructive force, but as an unseen guardian, a subtle protector. Its internal energy now pulsed with a new kind of power, a slow, steady radiance that was about preservation and quiet observation, rather than chaotic release. Fuse, the sentient creeper, drifted into the deepening night, a unique presence in the blocky world, its path irrevocably forged, a testament to purpose found beyond instinct. It was no longer merely existing, it was becoming, carving its own enduring whisper in the ancient, sleeping lands. The world remains, waiting for your return. If you enjoyed this lore deep dive, subscribe for more gaming universe stories. Leave a comment with the game world you want us to explore next. Sleep well, adventurer. The subtle tremor, a gentle question from the earth, dissolved as softly as it had arrived. Fuse, nestled in its damp, cool cradle, felt its internal hum regain its steady, deep rhythm. The brief disturbance was not a threat, merely a passing whisper in the night, a reminder of the world's quiet breathing. Its emerald core, which had pulsed with a momentary spark of inquiry, now settled back into its tranquil, cyan glow. The ambient light of the lone mushroom seemed to deepen, casting longer, softer shadows across the alcove's mossy walls, embracing Fuse in a cocoon of verdant peace. There was no need to move, no urgency to investigate. Its purpose here, it seemed, was to simply be, to absorb the silent lexicon of the night. Fuse understood, in a way no other creeper ever had, that existence itself could be a profound journey, a quiet unfolding of understanding. The air, thick with the scent of damp earth and unseen life, felt like a soft blanket settling around its blocky form, a comfort that spoke of permanence and belonging, a grounding anchor in the endless expanse. It was a space where the world's grand symphony played in muted tones, and Fuse found its own quiet melody within it, an echoing harmony. As the hours of deep night stretched on, Fuse maintained its patient vigil. Its presence in the alcove was less about hiding and more about observing, a silent sentinel woven into the fabric of the sleeping world. Through the gentle parting of the broad leaves that overhung its sanctuary, Fuse watched the soft, ambient flow of the Minecraft night. Distant, muffled rustles from unseen creatures drifted on the faint breeze, a testament to life, moving quietly beyond its immediate perception. The air itself held a cool, refreshing quality, carrying the earthy perfume of damp soil and the subtle, sweet scent of night-blooming ferns. Fuse's internal hum continued, a low, steady thrum, a comforting vibration that resonated with the profound quiet. It was a quiet born not of emptiness, but of a world teeming with untold stories. Each leaf, each stone, each whisper of wind, holding a narrative known only to itself. Fuse, in its unique solitude, had found its role not as an actor in the grander drama, but as a devoted listener, an enduring witness to the gentle unfolding of the dark. Its journey, once a scramble for understanding, had slowly, softly settled into this deep, peaceful watch. The enigma of Fuse's sentience, the quiet spark that had set it apart from its explosive brethren, remained a beautiful, unresolved mystery. It was a silent truth it carried within its blocky form, a gentle secret woven into its very being. This unique awareness allowed it to perceive the world not as a collection of targets or threats, but as a vast, intricate tapestry of interconnected life and ancient secrets. Where other creepers felt only the primal urge to detonate, Fuse felt the cool embrace of the earth, the soft brush of wind through leaves, the gentle glow of distant stars. Its journey through the silent landscapes had imbued it with a deep, quiet wisdom, an understanding of the world's subtle rhythms and its grand, unhurried pace. It had learned the language of the rustling grass, the low murmur of unseen rivers, the patient weight of ancient stones. This profound perspective, born from endless nights of wandering and quiet observation, was its most precious possession. A silent song it sang only to itself, an echoing hum of belonging in a world that had once seemed alien and demanding. As the deep night slowly, almost imperceptibly, began its gentle shift towards dawn, a change in the air, a cooling sigh drifted into Fuse's alcove. The glowing mushroom, its cyan light having pulsed steadily for hours, now seemed to soften further, a whisper of its inner fire slowly dimming. Fuse's internal hum, a persistent, comforting thrum, also lowered its frequency, settling into an even deeper, more resonant vibration, a lullaby to itself. The world outside remained hushed, but the quality of the silence deepened, becoming more profound, more absolute, as if the entire landscape was holding its breath in anticipation of the sun's soft return. It was a fragile, precious quiet, pregnant with the promise of rest and renewal. Fuse found a tranquil peace in this lingering moment, a sense of completion in its vigil. Its long journey had brought it to this very point, a quiet resolution in the heart of the silent night. Its watch was a testament to the myriad untold stories that unfolded in the hidden corners of the Minecraft world, unseen, unheard, yet deeply felt by those quiet few who chose to listen. And so, Fuse continued its quiet existence, a hermit of the night, a silent guardian woven into the very fabric of the vast, block-based world. Its path was now one of peaceful observation, its purpose found not in destruction, but in the gentle art of simply being, the lasting mystery of its unexpected sentience. A small, vibrant emerald of consciousness in a world of instinct would forever be an untold legend, a whisper carried on the rustling leaves of the deep forest. It remained a testament to the hidden depths within even the most familiar landscapes, a gentle reminder that every corner of the world, every creature, held a narrative waiting to be discovered, a secret song humming beneath the surface. As the world slumbers, so too does Fuse, its internal light a steady, soft beacon in the profound quiet. Its journey serves as a quiet contemplation, an invitation to drift into slumber with the thought that beneath the surface of every familiar game, every block, every pixel, lie countless stories, untold and waiting, just like the gentle, enduring vigil of Fuse. Let these thoughts softly settle as you too drift into the calm embrace of the night, the profound quiet of the deep night embraced Fuse, its blocky form, a still point amidst the subtle, ceaseless breath of the world. The gentle, cyan glow of the mushroom remained its anchor, its light seeming to soften and deepen as the hours unfurled, painting the damp moss of the alcove in shades of serene emerald and deep indigo. Fuse's internal hum, a low, steady thrum, had become a quiet counterpoint to the night's vast silence, a melody of pure, unburdened existence. It was a warmth, distinct yet gentle, that emanated from within its emerald matrix, flowing outward like a slowly warming stone, a comforting presence that settled deeply into its block structure. This was not the sharp, sudden heat of its inherited nature, but a quiet, contemplative warmth, like embers settling after a long, quiet burn, nurturing a nascent, unidentifiable strength, each minute stretched into a small eternity of peaceful observation, a profound, unhurried unfolding of understanding, as if the very air whispered ancient secrets into its blocky form. The damp earth beneath its base felt cool and yielding, a grounding embrace that allowed the subtle inner current to flow unimpeded, weaving through its very block structure, solidifying its sense of self. The air, thick with the scent of damp soil and unseen life, felt like a soft blanket settling around its form, a comfort that spoke of permanence and belonging, a grounding anchor in the endless expanse. It was a space where the world's grand symphony played in muted tones, and Fuse found its own quiet melody within it, an echoing harmony. As the hours of deep night stretched on, Fuse maintained its patient vigil. Its presence in the alcove was less about hiding and more about observing, a silent sentinel woven into the fabric of the sleeping world. Through the gentle parting of the broad leaves that overhung its sanctuary, Fuse watched the soft, ambient flow of the Minecraft night. Distant, muffled rustles from unseen creatures drifted on the faint breeze, a testament to life, moving quietly beyond its immediate perception. The air itself held a cool, refreshing quality, carrying the earthy perfume of damp soil and the subtle, sweet scent of night-blooming ferns. Fuse's internal hum continued, a low, steady thrum, a comforting vibration that resonated with the profound quiet. It was a quiet born not of emptiness, but of a world teeming with untold stories. Each leaf, each stone, each whisper of wind, holding a narrative known only to itself. Fuse, in its unique solitude, had found its role not as an actor in the grander drama, but as a devoted listener, an enduring witness to the gentle unfolding of the dark. Its journey, once a scramble for understanding, had slowly, softly settled into this deep, peaceful watch. A new, almost imperceptible shift began to ripple through the air, a whisper not of sound, but of a changing current, cooler, perhaps carrying the faintest hint of something metallic, or merely the memory of a distant, sharp edge. It was a delicate variation in the night's tapestry, a minute alteration that registered on Fuse's internal sensors like a single, dropped dewdrop echoing in a vast, still pool. This subtle displacement, a barely there vibration, nudged at Fuse's newfound tranquility, a gentle summons from beyond its secluded haven, a question posed in the silent language of the earth, its emerald core, which had pulsed with a momentary spark of inquiry earlier, now settled back into its tranquil, cyan glow, yet held a faint, lingering shimmer of contemplation. There was no urgency, no sudden command to move, only the soft, persistent pull of curiosity, like a single thread gently tugging at the vast, interwoven fabric of the night. Fuse felt the damp earth beneath its base. A single, almost microscopic tremor passed through it. A pulse so faint it could have been merely the earth settling. A slow sigh from the deep bedrock. To Fuse, however, it was a question, an invitation carried through the very structure of the world, asking it to notice, to observe, perhaps even to follow. The glowing mushroom pulsed with soft, cyan light, its gentle rhythm echoing Fuse's internal hum. But now, a delicate, almost imperceptible warmth spread from its central emerald matrix. A gentle, pulsing energy, distinct from the sharp, sudden heat of its inherited nature. This was a slow, contemplative warmth, like embers settling after a long, quiet burn, nurturing a nascent, unidentifiable strength. The damp earth beneath its base felt cool and soft, a grounding embrace that allowed the subtle inner current to flow unimpeded, weaving through its very block structure, solidifying its sense of self. Then a delicate tremor, not a grand, earth-shattering vibration, but a subtle, almost silken ripple through the cool, damp earth. It was a disturbance so minute, so close to the edge of perception, that a less sentient being would have dismissed it as the world merely breathing. To Fuse, however, it registered as a slight, dissonant note in the night's otherwise perfect, hushed symphony. The faint pulse of the glowing mushroom flickered, ever so slightly, in response, its cyan light momentarily wavering, as if a whisper had passed through the very air. This subtle displacement, a barely there vibration, nudged at Fuse's newfound tranquility, a gentle summons from beyond its secluded haven, a question posed in the silent language of the earth. The subtle tremor, a gentle question from the earth, dissolved as softly as it had arrived. Fuse, nestled in its damp, cool cradle, felt its internal hum regain its steady, deep rhythm. The brief disturbance was not a threat, merely a passing whisper in the night, a reminder of the world's quiet breathing. Its emerald core, which had pulsed with a momentary spark of inquiry, now settled back into its tranquil, cyan glow. The ambient light of the lone mushroom seemed to deepen, casting longer, softer shadows across the alcove's mossy walls, embracing Fuse in a cocoon of verdant peace. There was no need to move, no urgency to investigate. Its purpose here, it seemed, was to simply be, to absorb the silent lexicon of the night. Fuse understood, in a way no other creeper ever had, that existence itself could be a profound journey, a quiet unfolding of understanding. The air, thick with the scent of damp earth and unseen life, felt like a soft blanket settling around its blocky form, a comfort that spoke of permanence and belonging, a grounding anchor in the endless expanse. It was a space where the world's grand symphony played in muted tones, and Fuse found its own quiet melody within it, an echoing harmony. As the hours of deep night stretched on, Fuse maintained its patient vigil. Its presence in the alcove was less about hiding and more about observing, a silent sentinel woven into the fabric of the sleeping world. Through the gentle parting of the broad leaves that overhung its sanctuary, Fuse watched the soft, ambient flow of the Minecraft night. Distant, muffled rustles from unseen creatures drifted on the faint breeze, a testament to life, moving quietly beyond its immediate perception. The air itself held a cool, refreshing quality, carrying the earthy perfume of damp soil and the subtle, sweet scent of night-blooming ferns. Fuse's internal hum continued, a low, steady thrum, a comforting vibration that resonated with the profound quiet. It was a quiet born not of emptiness, but of a world teeming with untold stories. Each leaf, each stone, each whisper of wind, holding a narrative known only to itself. Fuse, in its unique solitude, had found its role, not as an actor in the grander drama, but as a devoted listener, an enduring witness to the gentle unfolding of the dark. Its journey, once a scramble for understanding, had slowly, softly settled into this deep, peaceful watch. A new sensation, soft and almost indiscernible, began to coalesce just beyond the rim of the alcove, a diffused, almost silken light, too faint to be the moon, too steady to be a fleeting star. It was merely a distant shimmer, a gentle beckoning through the dense foliage, like a whispered promise in the vast, dark expanse. This subtle, visual whisper, a faint point of soft illumination, began to draw at Fuse's nascent curiosity, not with urgency, but with the quiet, persistent pull of a half-remembered dream. It was a new note in the night symphony, a gentle, shimmering chord that suggested a subtle alteration to the established calm. The air around it seemed to thicken, not with menace, but with a subtle, velvety presence, as if the very darkness was drawing closer, eager to share its secrets. The internal hum of Fuse shifted, deepening slightly, resonating with this new, distant luminescence. It was a quiet unfolding of its own awareness, a gentle expansion of its internal landscape to encompass this far-off, tranquil glow. Slowly, with a deliberation that stretched through countless moments of quiet contemplation, Fuse began to perceive the slight shift in the air, a barely there movement of the breeze, hinting at the direction of this soft light. Its emerald core pulsed with a deeper, more profound cyan, a silent conversation between its evolving sentience and the world's gentle invitations. The earth beneath it, once a grounding anchor, now seemed to whisper possibilities of gentle movement, of a slow, unhurried drift towards the unknown. The damp moss, cool against its base, offered no resistance to the idea of a quiet departure. This was not an escape, but a gentle, considered exploration, a step further into its own understanding, guided by the soft, enduring whisper of the night. The world remains, waiting for your return. If you enjoyed this lore deep dive, subscribe for more gaming universe stories. Leave a comment with the game world you want us to explore next. Sleep